Good morning, guys. I want to start off and say that I am missing you all like crazy. I would much rather be teaching you in person than speaking to a computer. Even if you're passing notes or sitting in my chair or chatting with each other or shooting rubber bands, throwing paper airplanes, you guys know that our class is like a family, and I really, really miss you. I miss being around you. But we have history to do today, and so I am going to get us started just reviewing because it's been a couple weeks, and I want to make sure that we are up to date with where we are in history before we start moving forward. So we were in chapter 17, which talks about World War I and leading on up into World War II. During this time, competition between nations was great. Smaller nations struggled to keep their new independence, and larger nations struggled for power. The nations began to form alliances with one another to protect themselves from other powerful nations. Advancements in science and technology made it a race to see who would be the dominant world power first. Germany began to advance quickly and even began to develop its own naval fleet. This prompted Britain, Russia, and France to form the Triple Entente. On the other hand, the small Balkan states such as Romania, Bulgaria, and Serbia found themselves sandwiched between two major empires that wanted their land, Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman and Turkish empires. On June 28, 1914, a Serbian radical assassinated the heir to the Austrian throne, Archduke Francis Ferdinand. Germany jumped to the aid of Austria, while Russia pledged to support Serbia. As these countries militarized, the other nations prepared for the inevitable. Germans marched on France, crossing through Belgium without consent, drawing Britain to Belgium's defense. It wasn't long until the war was affecting people groups and nations all over the world, 28 countries altogether. Inventions such as airplanes, poison gas, rapid-fire artilleries, zeppelins, and submarines created a war that no one was prepared for, and the world sat in stalemate for a long time. In order to keep support for the war going, nations resorted to the use of propaganda. That is the use of media and art to try to encourage people to join. And women had to serve in areas that they had never served before, in factories, weapon making, and even in the front lines as nurses. The turning point of the war took place when Tsar Nicholas II of Russia abdicated his throne, and Lenin traded sides to support the Germans. On the other side, President Woodrow Wilson finally convinced Congress to enter the U.S. into the war to provide troops for France and Britain. Germany finally surrendered in 1919. Delegates from 32 nations gathered for the Paris Peace Conference. There, they signed the Treaty of Versailles, which would hold Germany accountable for the damages of the war. Okay, so that was kind of a short recap of World War I. Now, as we saw, World War I left most of the world desolate. And when we looked into Section 3, we saw that opened the door for many of the nations to have dictators, fascist regimes, and military leaders come and take control. So it was a really bad situation. It allowed leaders such as Lenin, Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini, and Mao Zedong to come into leadership and power. Okay, well that pretty much covers the review of what we've done so far so that we can move forward on Wednesday. I have included a link on this post that is to the Anne Frank house. Now, Anne Frank was a young girl a Jewish girl that lived during Nazi Germany in World War II. And she and her family and some other people hid out in an apartment that was in an upstairs of a building, and they were there for a long period of time. And she journaled every day about that experience. So you think it's rough with us having to stay home with our TV and our internet and still being able to do school. They didn't have those options then. So it's kind of a neat thing to go and look at where it was that they were staying, just get a perspective on what life was like for them. So I want you guys to go and check that out. You can read her story. You can take a virtual 3D tour through the house. I've been to the house, and it's really kind of eye-opening. And then also you can shoot me an email that has a paragraph that tells me what your thoughts are on seeing that. So I will chat with you all later, and I really hope that you guys are staying busy, staying positive, because you know what? God's got this, and it'll be no time before we see each other again. Talk to you guys later. Love ya. Bye.